My relationship with Clara had become a series of endless tests, each one designed to prove the depth of my affection for her. She would feign illness just to see if I would brave a downpour late at night to fetch her medicine from the pharmacy. Sometimes, she would intentionally leave the faint scent of another man's cologne on her jacket, a calculated move to ignite my jealousy. There was even a time she made me stand for 3 hours in a storm, a cruel spectacle arranged purely so she could boast about my devotion to her friends. It was my own decision to finally end things with her, though she dismissed it as me just being in a bad mood. On my birthday, she called me. "Stop being upset," she said, her voice light. "Come to the Orion Club tonight. I have a surprise for you." "I'm busy today," I told her, my tone flat. She didn't believe me, of course, and just laughed. "What could you possibly have to do that's so important?" "I'm getting married today," I said. There I stood holding a birthday cake under the awning of Clara's apartment building. It was the 3rd hour I had been waiting. Every message I sent had been delivered but remained unread. Just as I was finally convincing myself to leave, I heard a burst of laughter and cheers from the balcony above. Clara and her friends leaned over the railing, whistling and shouting down at me. "Alex! Clara told us you'd wait for her in the rain for 3 hours, one of them yelled. "We didn't believe it, but you actually did it. Your love is something else." "Clara is so lucky to have you," another chimed in, as they all laughed and playfully teased her. I just stood there, stunned, watching them. The vibrant city sounds around me seemed to fade into a dull, colorless hum. The only thing in focus was Clara. A self-satisfied smile played on her lips as she looked down at me, her expression like one you'd give a pet that had just performed a clever trick for a round of applause. A sudden, sharp pain bloomed in my chest, as if someone had physically torn it open, and the cold wind that swept through the street seemed to rush right in, making the hollow space ache even more. Clara waved down at me. "Alex, come on up!" I stared at her for a few long seconds, then turned my back on her and the cheering and walked out into the open rain. We had been together for 5 years. I was with her when she had nothing, and I was still there as she launched her own successful company. Clara had transformed from a girl struggling to make ends meet into a confident small business owner. And I had been by her side for every single step of that journey. I remembered the day she closed her first significant deal. She had thrown her arms around me and cried with the unrestrained joy of a child. "Alex, I promise I'll always treat you well," she'd said through her tears. "I will always love you." Back then, her words felt so genuine, and I had believed every single one without a shred of doubt. I don't know exactly when she began to change. I only know that eventually all she left me with were memories that were far from fond. There was the time she pretended to be sick again, another one of her tests. It was the middle of a freezing winter night, and she sent me out for medicine. The streets were coated in a treacherous layer of snow and ice, and I slipped and fell hard 4 separate times on my way back to her. When I finally stumbled through the door, bruised and shivering, Clara stood there and pulled me into a hug. "Oh, baby, you're so good to me," she said, before admitting she wasn't sick at all. She just wanted to test my love. I don't know what I felt in that moment, but the throbbing pain from my falls made my eyes burn. Another time she deliberately left the scent of a different man's cologne on her clothes, just to see if I'd get jealous. It led to the most vicious argument we'd ever had, but all she did was post on social media afterward. My baby must really love me, otherwise why would he get so jealous? Over the years, she had done so many ridiculous things that I had simply lost count. As I walked down the street, I passed a public trash can. Without hesitating, I lifted the lid and dropped the cake I was still holding inside. After all these years of her games, Clara had finally, piece by piece, drained every last drop of love I had for her. Walking in the rain, my mind drifted back to another rainy night, many years ago. Clara and I were just sophomores in college then. I was on my way back from a tutoring job when the sky opened up. As I stepped off the bus, I looked up and saw a figure standing under the soft glow of a streetlight. It was her, holding an umbrella and waiting for me. The moment she saw me, a wide smile spread across her face, and she ran over. She pulled a warm, foil-wrapped sweet potato from inside her coat and pressed it into my hands. "It's still hot," she'd said. "Eat it before it gets cold." It was the first time in my life I had ever felt such an open and passionate display of affection, but that was 5 years ago. She was still the same person, yet everything between us had fundamentally changed. For a long time I had been disappointed, but I kept clinging to the memories of the good times she had given me. I held on to a desperate, fading hope. What if she could change back to the person she used to be? But reality had just delivered a brutal blow. That was nothing more than wishful thinking. The moment she began to use my affection as a tool for bragging rights, the love that existed between us had soured. Today was her birthday, and I had planned to have a serious conversation with her, to talk about us and our future. But Clara didn't give me that chance. Instead, she used 3 hours to lay out the undeniable truth for me. There was no future for us. Thinking about it now, those 3 hours were worth it. Just before I turned the corner and disappeared from their sight, I overheard their voices one last time. "Alex seems pretty upset," one of her friends noted. "Clara, maybe you should go talk to him and calm him down." Clara's voice was casual, almost dismissive. "No need. He's just being moody. I'm used to it. He'll come back on his own soon enough." She sounded so certain, so confident. She probably believed that her newfound success meant that I would never be willing to give up on someone like her. But I wasn't coming back. "Clara, I'm done with you." That night, Clara didn't call me even once. The next morning, I waited in my car down the street until I saw her leave for work. Then, I went back up to the apartment we had shared and left her a letter. I didn't have much to pack. I only needed my ID and my passport. As I pushed the door open to leave for the last time, I couldn't stop myself from glancing back. This was the apartment Clara and I had rented right after we graduated. It was just an empty shell when we first moved in. We had decorated it ourselves, picking out every piece of furniture and hanging all the lights together. When we eventually had more money, we bought the place. It was small, but we never moved. Every corner of this home held our memories. Now, all of those memories felt like a cruel joke. When I boarded the plane to leave the city, I switched my phone's SIM card. I left everything that was tied to Clara behind. Years later, I returned to the coastal city I once called home. The taxi pulled up to the gates of the Harrison estate. "This is private property, sir," the driver said. "No entry without permission." I rolled down the window. "Tom, it's me." The elderly security guard squinted, his eyes finally widening in recognition. "Alex, you're finally back." The estate was vast, but there weren't many people around. I knelt in the yard for a full hour, but no one came out to slip a cushion under my knees. "Dad, I know I was wrong. I truly do." My father, now with strands of gray in his hair, lay with his eyes closed in a large rocking chair on the veranda. He remained silent for a long time before he finally spoke. "I can still remember how determined you were to leave for that poor girl. Your mother pleaded with you, but you wouldn't listen. I scolded you, I even hit you, but all it did was make you want to cut ties with us." Tears welled in my eyes. "I'm sorry. From now on, I'll do whatever you ask of me." The chair stopped rocking. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at me. "All right then, you should go ahead and marry Sophia." I was taken aback. Sophia? The name was so unfamiliar, it jolted memories I had long since buried back to the surface. My family and the White family went back generations. I had been engaged to Sophia when I was 18. When I left to be with Clara, I abandoned all of that. I had even asked Sophia to call off our engagement. What did she say back then? "Whatever you've wanted, I've always said yes." I had assumed that meant our engagement was officially over. I looked up, confused. Sophia isn't married yet? By now she had to be 30. Who would she marry with our engagement still technically in place? My mother came out carrying a platter of fresh fruit. She glanced down at me. "Get up now. You've kneeled long enough." I clumsily got to my feet. "Since you're back," my mother continued, "the first thing you need to do is go and apologize to the Whites. Then you can get the marriage license with Sophia." When I went to visit the White family, Sophia wasn't there. I was told she was abroad for a work project. Her parents and grandparents were all surprisingly happy to see me. It was entirely different from the cold shoulder or sarcastic remarks I had imagined. They said, "We heard you spent the past few years traveling to relax. Since you're back now, will you be sticking around for a while?" I nodded, a bit stunned. "Yes." Sophia's mother took my hand. "When Sophia suddenly decided to call off the engagement all those years ago, it was unfair to you, and it was a mistake on our part. Her father already talked to her about it. We understood when you went away to clear your head. So, about you and Sophia's marriage." I felt a deep sense of shame. "I'll let the elders of both our families decide." After leaving their home, I called Sophia. She picked up almost immediately. Her voice hadn't changed much. It was still calm and easygoing. "Hello, Sophia, it's me, Alex." Talking to her, I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. I never expected our engagement to still be intact. I paused, trying to find the right words. "I imagine you wouldn't want to be tied to someone like me. I'll figure out a way to handle this as peacefully as possible." She interrupted me before I could finish. "What mind?" she said. "You didn't commit a crime. You just had a relationship that didn't work out. That's not a stain on your character. When's the wedding?" She changed the subject so quickly that I didn't have time to react. "It's not set yet, but both of our parents are very eager." "Okay," she said. "I'll be back soon." Even after the call ended, I felt a bit dazed. Children from families like ours learn early on that our marriages are often not entirely in our own hands. Understanding that fact is one thing, but truly accepting it is another. I thought that perhaps I could learn something about acceptance from Sophia. Sophia returned half a month later. That very day, she brought gifts to our house. She seemed more mature and composed than I remembered, speaking gently and humbly to my father, and effortlessly charming my mother. It was no wonder they liked her so much. I watched from the side, sipping my tea. The moment our eyes met, our wedding date was set for early May. That day, conveniently, was also my birthday. While I was at the salon getting my hair styled for the ceremony, I received a call from an unknown number. "Hello, wow, this number actually works." The voice sounded exactly like Chloe, Clara's best friend. "Alex, I finally found you. Alex, where have you been all this time? Clara has been going crazy looking for you." I had no idea how she could have possibly gotten this new number. I just frowned slightly. "Don't contact me again. Clara and I have broken up." There was a muffled noise on the other end of the line, and then someone else took the phone. "You just left me a letter and broke up with me without my consent. I didn't agree to it, so it doesn't count." It was Clara. "Alex, why are you being mad again? Is it because I made you wait for 3 hours in the rain? Is something so small really worth you running away from home?" I listened in silence, too tired to argue with her. Her words only made me more certain that leaving had been the right decision. "Okay, I'm sorry." Clara's voice softened. "Honey, don't be mad, okay? I just feel insecure sometimes. I just wanted to see if you really loved me. So don't be upset. Today's your birthday. I've prepared a surprise for you at the Orion Club. Won't you come?" I could hear the muffled sounds of men and women teasing her in the background. "Alex, Clara is going to propose to you." "Oh, how romantic." "Get out of here." Clara laughed and scolded them. "There won't be any surprise if you spill the beans like that." Listening to the chaos on her end of the line was giving me a headache, so I rubbed my temples. The hairstylist beside me jumped and hurriedly asked, "I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison, did I hurt you?" "No, keep going." "All right, Mr. Harrison. Today I'll make you the most handsome groom in the world." Clara's voice came through the phone, puzzled. "Alex, what are you doing?" I paused for a few seconds and then said clearly, "Clara, I'm getting married today." The line went silent. Just when I was about to hang up, Clara laughed. "Alex, you're pulling my leg, aren't you? You're just trying to make me jealous. You almost got me." She sounded like she was forcing the laughter. I suddenly felt a profound sense of relief, a feeling that came from the deep-seated realization that she and I would never be connected again. "I'm not kidding," I said, and then I laughed too. "I got the license last month. We're having the ceremony today. I'm not going to invite you to the reception. It would be awkward and my wife wouldn't be happy." "Alex!" Clara's voice shot up several octaves. "Are you done with your joke? I hung up the phone, removed the SIM card, and threw it into the nearby trash can. The hairstylist was startled by my sudden movements and froze for a moment. I smiled at his reflection in the mirror. "Sorry about that. Please, carry on." I married Sophia at a church in the city. The decorations weren't the typical cookie-cutter style you often see. You could tell that a lot of personal thought and care had gone into every detail. I couldn't help but ask the wedding planner, "Which company did all this? It's really nice." The assistant leaned in and whispered, "Mr. Harrison, Sophia designed it all herself." I was stunned. I never expected Sophia to put so much genuine effort into what I had assumed was just a business marriage for her as well. There were coordinators who directed me on what to do and where to go. Dressed in my sharp suit, I felt like I was moving on autopilot as I walked into the main hall and stood next to the priest. At the master of ceremonies' signal, I turned to watch her walk slowly toward me down the aisle. The cheers from the crowd filled my ears, but as Sophia and I locked eyes, I wondered if it was just me, or if there was a genuine sincerity in her smile. Maybe I could learn a thing or two from her about playing the part perfectly. I adjusted my own expression as I watched her father lead her over and place her hand in mine. The ceremony went smoothly, but as soon as it was over, our parents whisked us away to begin the long process of socializing with a myriad of uncles, aunts, and business associates. After making the rounds for hours, my legs felt like they were about to give out. It wasn't until 11 o'clock at night that we were finally able to return to our new home. It was a small villa in a nice, quiet neighborhood. I wandered off to take a shower, and when I came out, it was already past midnight. Sophia was sitting on the couch in her pajamas, her hair still not fully dry, with a few damp strands falling over her forehead. She seemed a bit more approachable and relaxed than her usual meticulous self. I noticed she was looking at a tablet and instinctively asked, "Still working this late?" Sophia lifted her gaze from the screen. "Not working. Just waiting for you." To be honest, Sophia and I weren't that close, and we had barely spoken more than a few sentences to each other. As I was trying to figure out why she would be waiting for me, she set her tablet aside and walked over to me. "It's getting late," I said, stating the obvious. "I know," Sophia said. "It's time for bed." Before I even realized what was happening, Sophia had pinned me against the wall, her sudden move catching me completely off guard. I hadn't yet processed the situation when I started to feel the change in the air around us. It became thick and heated, and my thoughts slowed to a crawl. Maybe it was because I hadn't been with a woman in a very long time, or maybe it was because Sophia's presence was so enticing, or it could have been because her gaze was burning right through me. Without thinking, I found myself wrapping my arms around her neck. To the bedroom. We had tied the knot today, making our relationship perfectly legal. We hadn't signed any prenups, and I certainly didn't plan on abstaining from the marital bed. With her here, ready and willing, how could I possibly resist? In just a few seconds, I had convinced myself that this was a mutually beneficial arrangement. We were both adults here. We stumbled into the bedroom, my robe ending up somewhere on the floor. I had always thought someone like Sophia would be reserved, perhaps even aloof, or maybe she would be quietly passionate while maintaining a serious exterior. But she didn't pretend at all. She showed me her true self, her desires, right from the very beginning. The overhead light wasn't on, but at the peak of it all, I couldn't help but bite down on her shoulder. She gasped softly and then chuckled. "Alex, you're still such a biter, aren't you?" I didn't quite catch what she said. By then, I was pretty far gone. I had no idea how many times I bit her, but when I woke up the next day, Sophia was facing away from me, getting dressed. Her back was beautifully shaped, even more so if you ignored the scattered red and purple bite marks. I quickly buried my head under the covers, pretending to still be asleep. She finished dressing and came over to pat my head through the blankets. "I know you're awake. If you don't want to get up, don't. I'm heading to the office. Be sure to eat something when you do get up." She delivered this in a slow, slightly raspy voice. Only after I heard the front door close did I slowly emerge from under the covers. Lying on my back and staring up at the large chandelier, I felt lost in thought. I really didn't see any of this coming. After that night, my relationship with Sophia grew significantly closer. She would come back in the evenings to have dinner with me, listening patiently as I recounted all the petty gossip from the high society circles, and sometimes she would even chime in with her own witty observations. I would accompany her to various dinner parties and galas, playing the part of the well-mannered gentleman by her side. As a partner, Sophia was pretty great. This whole arranged marriage was turning out to be way better than I had ever expected. My parents noticed the change in me, too. "Alex, you've only been married a month, and you seem sturdier. You've been looking a lot better," my mom said with a warm smile. "It means Sophia's really taking good care of you, huh? They say loving someone is like tending to a flower. If the flower is doing well, it shows." Then her tone shifted, and she sighed. "I remember when you came back so suddenly before. You looked so worn out. It just broke my heart to see you like that." My confident smile faltered for a second. I had been in such a good mood. My dad, ever the master at changing the subject, jumped in. "Now that you're married, you should start focusing on your career. Next month, come intern at the company and get a feel for the business." He was laying down the plan for my next steps. When I got home that night, Sophia was heading into her study. She's incredibly dedicated when it comes to her work, sometimes staying up late into the night. "Have you had dinner already?" she asked. "Yeah, you?" I asked politely. "Nope," she said. I was a bit taken aback. "It's late. I texted you that I wouldn't be home for dinner, though." Sophia nodded. "I saw it, but without you here, I wasn't really hungry." Her words hung in the air, and I was speechless for a few moments. Just as she stepped into the study, she paused and glanced back at me. "Is there something else?" I looked away, nonchalantly picking at my nails. "Nah. It's just that my dad wants me to start helping out at the company. I was thinking of buying a place closer to the office. This villa is too far for a daily commute." "Then buy it," Sophia replied simply. "Just let me know when you decide on the location. I'll arrange for it to be set up. New place, new things." Wait, we... I looked up suddenly. Are you planning on moving there too? Sophia gave me a calm, steady look. We've only been married for a little over a month, and you're looking to live separately already? I swear I caught a glimpse of disappointment in her otherwise calm tone. That's not what I meant, I said quickly. If you want to move, that's fine. Great, then it's settled. Sophia smiled. Get some rest, hubby. Even after she closed the study door, I was still a bit dazed. Was Sophia acting strange, or was it me? Before I started at the company, Sophia and I moved to a nearby apartment. It wasn't too big, just the right size for the two of us. My dad didn't announce my identity at the company. Instead, he had me work as his personal assistant, learning the ropes of the business firsthand. With plenty of tasks to tackle every day, he was serious about grooming me for a leadership role. Once I got busy with work, time flew by. In what felt like no time at all, 6 months had passed. In the early winter, an unexpected visitor showed up at the company. Chloe. I was passing by the general manager's office with a stack of files when she caught up with me. Alex? She said, looking confused. What are you doing here? I didn't expect to run into her either. I gave a polite, distant smile. I work here, and I'm not your Alex. She looked a bit awkward. Oops, sorry, I misspoke. She was a high-level executive at another company, likely here for business talks. We didn't chat for much longer, and I headed straight for the executive elevator to the top floor. Chloe paused for a few seconds before turning back to the manager she had been speaking with. What position does that gentleman hold here? He's the chairman's assistant, the manager said, looking puzzled. Why do you ask? Oh, nothing, Chloe said, pausing for a moment before asking another question. Do you happen to know what his wife does? The manager hesitated, then turned to his secretary. The secretary shook her head. I don't think Alex is married. He's never mentioned a wife. The moment Chloe left the building, she called Clara. Clara, guess who I just ran into today? A few days after my encounter with Chloe, I was stopped by Clara on my way home from work. She was dressed in a fancy power suit, leaning against a luxury car, catching the eyes of everyone passing by. Alex, she called out to me, you haven't done much better for yourself since we split up, huh? I ignored her and tried to walk past, but she frowned and grabbed my wrist. In a low voice, she said, It's been long enough now. Don't you think it's time to let this go? You can come back to me and be a stay-at-home husband without any worries. I couldn't help it, I snapped. Are you out of your mind? I told you I'm married, already married. Who would believe that? Clara said nonchalantly. Alex, who did you marry if I wasn't there? Talking to her for just a few sentences was completely exhausting. Before I could get another word out, a slender, pale hand reached over and pulled my own hand away from Clara's grasp with an assertive force. I had no idea when Sophia had shown up or how much she had seen. She looked at Clara with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. He's married to me. Do you have any issues with that? If I'm being honest, Clara isn't short for a woman, but standing next to Sophia, she seemed significantly smaller. Clara's expression finally changed as she looked from me to Sophia and back again. She was beginning to realize that she no longer held any special standing with the boy who had once seen only her. Who are you? She asked. I intertwined my fingers with Sophia's. My wife, Sophia. Sophia turned to me, a genuine smile now in her eyes. The sight of us together seemed to get to Clara, and she became agitated. Alex, did you really get married? Do I need to show you my marriage certificate? I retorted. She yelled, How could you do this to me? I worked so hard for our future, networking late into the night, and you dumped me over something trivial and married someone else. Alex, do you even have a heart? Stop acting so noble, Sophia interrupted, her voice turning cold. She glanced at the expensive car parked at the side of the road. Did you buy that car for Alex too? Are you wearing all those designer brands for him as well? You seek approval from others, yet you stand here high and mighty, judging him. Who do you think you are?" Before Clara could argue, Sophia added, "And maybe what you think is so trivial was actually a very big deal for Alex." I never expected Sophia would speak up for me like this. I couldn't hold back a look of genuine admiration. As Clara looked over at me, I impulsively pulled Sophia's arm closer. "Honey, you nailed it." Sophia was caught off guard, and her ears turned a light shade of red. Clara, now livid, stepped forward and raised her hand to strike Sophia. Chloe, who had apparently been secretly watching from a distance, could no longer stay hidden. She rushed over and tugged Clara aside. Sophia didn't look back even once. She just took my hand and led us away. We walked in silence all the way back to the apartment. At the door, feeling a bit awkward, I said, "You can let go for a second. I need to scan my fingerprint." As usual, we ate dinner and took our showers. Afterward, she would normally head to her study while I did some cardio, but tonight she blocked my path. She came straight out of the bathroom in her robe and pulled me into an urgent, searing kiss like she was burning alive. I barely caught my breath and without thinking tried to explain. "Clara and I are done. She just hasn't been able to let it go yet." Sophia's voice was husky. "I know." "Then why are you—" "I just wanted to kiss you, liar." One kiss led to another, and soon we ended up on the bed. As awareness slowly returned to me, I realized, oh crap, I've caught feelings for her. Why else would my first reaction be to explain everything to her and worry that she might be mad? This business marriage was no longer as straightforward as I had thought. But before I could think it over any further, my thoughts were drowned in the storm that Sophia brought. I didn't expect to see Clara again so soon. It was at a business banquet, and Sophia had brought me along as her date. She chatted with the various big shots while I stood by her side and smiled. It's not easy work. After standing for a while, my lower back started aching, a lingering problem from the years I spent running around after Clara. Sophia leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Why don't you go sit down and rest for a bit?" I nodded and quietly slipped away. But just before I reached the designated rest area, I stopped in my tracks. I saw Clara. She was sitting on a sofa, holding a glass of red wine and chatting with a group of younger people. Clara looked stunning, and over the years she had gotten very good at conversation. Naturally, she was catching a lot of attention. A bold young man asked with a smile, "Clara, a successful and beautiful woman like you, do you have a boyfriend?" "No," she replied, sipping her wine with a hint of a smile. Then her eyes met mine from across the room. The young man continued, "Clara, with so much going on for you, how come you're single?" Clara smirked a bit. "I just broke up with someone." Someone else teased, "Oh, it looks like Clara is nursing a broken heart." In their back and forth banter, Clara started talking about her ex-boyfriend. "He treated me like I was his entire world. He brought me breakfast every morning. He went out in the middle of a snowy night to get me cold medicine. And whenever I got drunk at a bar, he would always be there to take me home. He once waited 3 hours in the rain for me." The group exchanged glances, some of them asking her how she managed to lose such a good guy. Clara chuckled, looking up at me from across the room. "Yeah, how did I lose him?" A young woman in the group then asked, "Doesn't Clara feel bad about it at all?" Clara was caught off guard, turning to face her. The woman seemed like she came from a wealthy family. She was articulate and a bit aggressive. "Clara, you said he brought you breakfast, bought you cold medicine, and waited for you in the rain for 3 hours. He went through so much for you, but you don't seem too bothered by it." The area went silent. Clara looked a bit embarrassed. The young woman smiled apologetically. "Sorry, I'm pretty blunt. Don't take it personally, Clara. It's just that listening to you talk, there seemed to be this undercurrent of pride in your voice, which surprised me. If my boyfriend waited that long for me in the rain, I'd be so worried about him. So it's really no wonder that boy slipped away." She glanced at her watch and stood up to leave. "This party is so boring. They're letting any kind of people in." That was a real slap in Clara's face. She looked pretty upset. That's when I went over and took a seat in the now quiet group. "Alex?" Someone recognized me. "Where's your wife?" I smiled. "She's over there, chatting with some friends. What were you guys talking about? It seemed like a very lively chat." The person looked surprised, probably wondering where I got the idea that it was a lively conversation. They seemed eager for a change of topic and aimed it at me. "Alex and Sophia have a great relationship, yeah? Just the other day at another event, I overheard Sophia talking non-stop about her husband. It made me a bit jealous." Another person added, "I heard you were out of town for a few years, Alex. Taking some time off?" I nodded. "Yeah, I went out, hit a wall, hurt myself, and came crawling back home." They all laughed. "Alex, always with the jokes." We chatted back and forth for a while, but Clara remained completely silent. After a bit, Sophia came over. She didn't even acknowledge Clara's presence. She just walked right up to me. "Have you had enough rest? It's time to go home." She offered her hand, and I naturally placed mine in hers, and we left together. Even after we left, I knew we remained the center of their gossip. Someone quietly shared, "I heard that during those years Alex wasn't in the city. He didn't even go abroad. He dated some poor girl and had a major falling out with his family over it." "What?" a woman exclaimed. "To leave his family so recklessly and then come back like this. He must have been heartbroken." A woman who had just returned from studying abroad pointed at our retreating figures and asked, "Who are they?" The person next to her filled her in. "That's Alex, the only son of the Harrison Holdings Group. The woman with him is Sophia White, who is now running Innovate Solutions. They got hitched last year. It was supposed to be a business marriage, but they seemed genuinely in love." Clara was a bit stunned. "Alex is who?" Sophia pulled me into the parking garage. The driver had already brought the car around. As I was getting in, a young woman's face suddenly turned around from the front passenger seat. "Hi." Wait a second. Was this the same woman who was just going off on Clara? But no, that person was a man. Or was it? I remember it being a man, but now there was a woman sitting there. I blinked, looking at her in confusion. "Who are you?" "Maya," Sophia introduced her as she got in from the other side. "She's my cousin. She just got back from abroad yesterday." I quickly greeted her. "Hello?" Maya looked me up and down, grinned, and said, "My sister has been talking about you for years, and now I finally get to see you in person. You're quite handsome." I didn't get a chance to ask what she meant before the driver suddenly slammed on the brakes, screeching the car to a stop. Sophia instinctively reached her hand out to protect my head. The driver rolled down the window. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" Clara was standing directly in front of the car. When she saw me in the back seat, she quickly walked around to my side. "Alex, get out. I need to ask you something." I rolled down the window to look at her. "What?" Clara caught her breath. "Is it true what they're saying? That you're the only son of the Harrison Holdings Group?" "Yes." She slammed her fist on the car door. "Then why didn't you ever tell me?" "Would it have made a difference?" I asked her. "If you knew I was the sole heir to a massive fortune, would you not have tested my love for you relentlessly? Would it have suddenly made you feel secure?" "I doubt it." I smirked sarcastically. "So, Clara, what are you really upset about?" The window rolled up, bit by bit, as I looked at Clara one last time. "If you're going to date again, don't test people. If you can't trust them, then don't waste their time. Let's go." As the car drove away, I saw Clara's defeated figure shrink in the rearview mirror until it disappeared completely. We dropped Maya off at her place first. As she got out, she exchanged contact information with me. The atmosphere in the car shifted subtly the moment she left. Jenny put her hand over mine. "Are you tired?" she asked. "Not really. You can take a nap if you want," I said. I wasn't really in the mood to talk, so I closed my eyes and leaned my head against the window. Soon, a warm hand gently cradled my head, guiding it to rest on a shoulder. I heard a soft sigh. "Sophia," I said, my voice low. I slowly opened my eyes. "Do you like me?" The air in the car seemed to freeze for a moment. I felt Sophia's body stiffen, but she soon relaxed completely. Her voice was clear and sure. "Yes." "Why? I always thought we were just in a marriage of convenience." "Alex, we've known each other for nearly 17 years. I thought back and realized it was true. We had gone to the same preparatory school and had lived near each other for a while. That's how we had met. But we had never really talked much, and then we went to different high schools after that. To me, Sophia was always the model child. My parents never put me down, but I often heard them praise her, saying she was polite, smart, and decisive. The idea of marrying Sophia had come from her family, though I never knew exactly why. My parents were thrilled about it, and I didn't mind the thought at the time. She seemed nice enough. Marrying her was fine by me. As for her actually liking me, I had never once considered the possibility. Sophia said, "Do you remember where we met for the first time?" That was so long ago. Who could remember that? I remained silent, and she just smiled. "I do. 17 years ago, I almost got kidnapped on the way home from school. You saved me." From the deepest recesses of my memory, I pulled out that piece of forgotten history. "Oh, that was you." I was just 10 years old back then. The school wasn't far from my home, but my parents were still worried. They had a bodyguard pick me up and drop me off every single day. After all, kids from wealthy families are easy targets for criminals. One day after school, I saw a little girl being snatched and thrown into a van from a distance. I didn't think twice. I just told my bodyguard to follow the van. We trailed them for several kilometers until we managed to corner them in a remote alley. The bodyguard kept insisting that I stay in the car, but I didn't listen and ran out. While he was wrestling with the abductors, I used my small size to sneak into the back of the van. I untied the girl, who was badly bruised, and started to pull her out. She was skinny and shorter than me. Just as I was about to get her out of the van, the driver noticed us and lunged towards us. I got scared, yanked the girl hard, and bit the man's wrist. Right at that moment, the girl's bodyguard showed up with the police. Seeing this, the kidnappers fled in a hurry. We sat on the roadside together afterward. The girl was too scared to speak, and I just stared at a pretty seashell in my hand, silent as well. I had dropped it from my pocket during the fight, and when I picked it up, it was covered in dust. The girl beside me suddenly started sobbing quietly. I turned to her, awkwardly trying to comfort her. "Don't cry. The bad guys are gone." Trying to mimic how adults had always comforted me, I said, "Don't cry. I'll give you a gift." She looked up at me with teary eyes. "What kind of gift?" I didn't expect her to actually want something, so in a slight panic, I offered her the most unique and beautiful seashell I had in my collection. Sophia, sitting next to me in the car now, laughed softly. "I still have that shell." I covered my face, blushing, and couldn't hold back a laugh. "You're something else." "Just kidding," Sophia laughed even more. "I put it in a special box and kept it on my bedside table. When I got home that day, I found out your name and your class. From then on, I started noticing you. You were different from the other spoiled rich kids I knew. You could make friends with anyone, and you could spend an entire afternoon just playing with a stray dog by the roadside. I was the one who pushed for our marriage." Sophia's voice paused, then got softer. "That's why when you asked me to dissolve the engagement for a moment, I didn't want to agree." I pressed my lips together. "But you did agree." "Yeah, I did. And I went through with the motions," she said. "The elders didn't agree, but there's no denying that if I had really, truly tried, our engagement would have been voided." She didn't exert herself because, secretly, she wanted to keep our relationship intact. Her words made my heart skip a beat. I wasn't sure what to feel. It was something bittersweet. Sophia looked at me and smiled. "What, feeling bad now?" "Ah, so that's it." I nodded a little. Sophia was taken aback, silent for a moment. I reached out and held her arm. "I wasn't lying earlier. I don't like Clara anymore. I'll have nothing more to do with her from now on. Since we got married, making our life together work is what matters the most." While Sophia was taking a bath that night, Maya sent me a message. "Alex, she's pretty bubbly. If my sister ever treats you badly, just come to me and I'll help you set her straight." I laughed and texted back, "All right." Within seconds, she replied, "But that won't happen. My sister's got a tough exterior, but she has a really warm heart. She likes you so much, how could she ever be bad to you?" It seemed like she was spilling all the beans. "A year ago, when you suddenly called my sister, she was at my graduation ceremony. As soon as she heard that you wanted to marry her, she left me by myself overseas and headed straight back home." The bathroom door opened, and Sophia came out. She glanced at me. "Why aren't you asleep yet?" I put down my phone and looked up at her intensely, "Waiting for you." She paused for a moment, and I stood up and slowly embraced her. "Sorry for making you wait so long." Sophia looked down at me, a swirl of emotions in her eyes. In an instant, her kiss fell upon me. The lights in the room went out, and only the soft glow of my phone screen flickered on the nightstand. "Maya, are you listening?" "Maya, why aren't you responding?" "I swear, what I said is true. I'm not my sister's wingman, and I didn't get a big red envelope from her for saying this." "Maya, huh? Why isn't my sister responding either? What are you two up to?"